Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to the Green Spectrum, and a platform dedicated to focusing on all things environmental, green conservation in South Africa. As part of the activities of this platform, will be the weekly focus on the environment related updates from the government gazettes. And this week we are looking into the gazettes that published environment related information from the 27th to the 30th of April 2026. Let's start on the 27th of April 2026. On this day, a consultation process in terms of the Protected Areas Act was then was published, whereby there is an intention to declare additions to the Tswalu Kalahari Nature Reserve. Now, this nature reserve is in the Northern Cape, hence the MEC, Mr. Lebogang Motlhaping, publishes the notice. The notice is to declare. The notice is the intention to declare properties in the Tswalu Nature Reserve as additions to that nature reserve. And then, of course, there's invite to members of the public to submit written representations or objections to the proposed declaration of additions to this nature reserve. The notices also invites comments to the draft management plan associated with the Tswalu Kalahari Nature Reserve, of which those comments must then be submitted to the contact detail to the person whose email is shown below within 60 days from the date of the publication of this notice. So you will just count 60 days from the 27th of April. It will be somewhere around June, towards the end of June. Now, these properties, as you can see in the schedule shown in the gazette, there's about 37 properties that will be added to the Tswalu Kalahari Nature Reserve, which has already been existing, by the way. Now, these 37 properties, if you sum up those the size of those properties, you get around 90,000, close to 91,000 hectares of prospective additions just in 2026. That is a great addition to the reserve and to the broader nature conservation in the province of the Northern Cape, as well as South Africa at large. So big ups, congratulations to the Tswalu Kalahari Nature Reserve there. We applaud you for that intervention. This is also a good initiative or a good achievement for the Tswalu Kalahari Nature Reserve, as it is close to some of the most active mining areas in South Africa. You get around your Kuruman region, Hotazel region, that is a manganese basin where some of the most abundant manganese resources in the world are found. So there's some serious mining taking place in those regions. So to conserve such huge amounts of land nearby those regions is a big gain for the conservation of environment in that region. Iron ore basin, or the iron ore region around the towns of Katu and Postmasburg are also nearby this region. So the addition to this reserve is something that should really be uploaded by all environment loving persons. I have not seen the management plan associated with this nature reserve, hence I'm not sure. I couldn't confirm which areas will be added, but it is highly likely that the areas, the critical biodiversity areas, your CPA 1s, 2, and your ecological support areas that are near this reserve will be conserved, will be added to the nature reserve, hence conserving them. Now that is a very good step, because usually we are used to critical biodiversity areas being rezoned for development, but in this case they will eventually be swallowed into the formal protected area, which will guarantee their protection for a very long time. Also, this region has got a diverse mix of vegetation types of the savanna biome. So the expansion of this nature reserve will actually ensure that even larger tracts of the larger areas of these vegetation types are also conserved. So yeah, that is just a win-win-win all the way for the environment and nature conservation. And then the next bylaw that was published, the next bylaw that was published in the Gazette was in Port St. John's, in the Port St. John's local municipality in the Eastern Cape, and it is their film bylaw. It was surprising to me that you would find some things that are environment related within a film bylaw, but yes, it was included there. Now, this bylaw, as part of its objectives, is to provide guidance for filming in environmentally sensitive areas, which makes sense if you think about it, because that is the wild coast, so I'm sure there's a whole lot of sensitive areas, especially along the coasts, that may be in demand for filming, for both local and international production houses. So it would make sense that there's a bylaw looking at protecting the environmentally sensitive areas within the municipality. Now, the bylaw goes on to just list what it means to define and then list the types of environmentally sensitive areas that it's referring to, this bylaw refers to. And those are the areas, your open spaces, wetlands, even going as far as listing the areas of heritage importance, like your sites of historical and cultural significance, which is also a good addition to consider heritage in addition to purely environmental or conservation features. Now, this is just your critical biodiversity areas, your freshwater critical biodiversity areas, and your protected areas found within this local municipality. So the local municipality is not short of areas that it could identify as sensitive, as environmentally sensitive. And in addition to this, to the freshwater critical biodiversity areas, there are also shapefiles showing terrestrial critical biodiversity areas, which I could not incorporate into this video. Now the process will be as follows according to the bylaw. The Planning and Economic Development Office of the municipality will be the one to handle these applications. So then it is empowered to require a production company to conduct an environmental impact assessment, or to compile and implement an environmental program, should it deem fit So that decision rests with the Planning and Economic Development Office. It is just my hope, or I'm assuming actually, that within that office there is an environmentalist that will then be able to handle these issues, to make those decisions on behalf of the local municipality. Now, the bylaw then makes a distinction between those productions that could conduct an environmental management program, that could be requested to conduct an environmental management program, and those productions that would then be required to conduct a full EIA, environmental impact assessment. So your micro, small and medium shoots would then may be required to conduct an environmental management program, to develop and implement an environmental management program. Basically, that's just the production company identifying what environmental features are nearby the area it would be filming in, and then proposing how it would manage the potential impacts from those. So it's almost like self-policing in a way. And then those shoots considered large or very large then they may be required to conduct a full EIA, or an environmental impact assessment, which is more extensive and elaborate than your environmental program. Schedule A of this bylaw then goes to distinguish what do they mean between these certain magnitudes of shoots. So they define a micro shoot as a shoot having 8 or less people in the cast and crew, with about between 1 and 3 vehicles and then those vehicles not required. There's no requirement for traffic intervention. And then the response for those applications would then be 24 hours or less. And then your small shoot, whereby there's a cast and crew of between 9 and 15 people, between 4 and 6 vehicles, also not requiring traffic intervention. Now those would also receive a response from the municipality within 24 hours or less. And then a medium shoot of 16 to 30 cast and crew, with between 11 to 30 vehicles, would receive a response within 48 hours of application. And then a large shoot that is 31 to 60 cast and crew members, 16 to 30 vehicles, and would receive a response within 48 hours of application. Very large shoots of more than 60 people, more than 31 vehicles, would then receive a response. The response for the municipality in that regard may take longer than 48 hours. But then Regulation 9, Sub-Regulation 5 of the bylaw then makes a distinction to say where an environmental authorization is required in terms of the National Environmental Management Act. The impact assessment regulations, or the requirements of the bylaw, of the affluent bylaw, maybe then be superseded. Then in that case, the local municipality would then comment, or be a commenting authority on an EIA or a basic assessment conducted by the province, or which then would achieve the same objectives as what the municipal bylaw would attempt to do. So in that regard, there is a cooperation, or there is a synergy between the National Act and this bylaw. Now, in addition, the municipality requiring being empowered to instruct production companies to conduct an environmental management program or an environmental impact assessment. The municipality is also empowered to require a production company to comply with a norm or standard if it's going to shoot in these environmentally sensitive areas. It is also, the municipality is also empowered to prohibiting filming in certain conservation areas. So yeah, that is quite sensible and expected. Now this bylaw is called, as you can see, a film bylaw, and it will take effect from the date of publication in the Provincial Gazette. So from the 27th of April 2026, the bylaw is in effect and should be complied with for all those seeking to film in the Port St. John's local municipality, within that municipality. On the same 27th of April 2026, the same municipality, Port St. John's local municipality, also gazetted the Prevention of Land Invasion bylaw. One of the objectives or the aims of this bylaw is to provide for the protection of the environment, which makes sense because when land is being invaded, it's usually natural land, virgin lands that may have some sensitive ecosystems or sensitive areas. Areas that have not been surveyed, which may then lead to problems such as your flooding, landslides, and just disrupt general development, planned development within a municipal area. So it makes sense that one of the objectives of this bylaw is to provide for the protection of the environment. Now, it's in their objective, the objectives of the bylaw is to control and manage the land available in terms of open spaces. Open spaces, it's just like I've said, that's where the nature is. It's also to ensure that all development is done according to the spatial development framework, which is a good thing to consider, because that's the spatial development framework. That's an area that identifies areas that should be used for development, for housing, for economy, for industries, and also those areas that should be left for as public open spaces, so that the municipality or the human settlements could be livable. So it is considering environmental. This bylaw is considering the environment in that sense. So also a big congratulations to the Port St. John's local municipality for publishing and for developing and publishing this bylaw. And we hope that the implementation will also be effective, so as to guarantee environmental conservation within this local municipality. Then, still in the Eastern Cape, Amahlathi local municipality then published a notice inviting people to comment on their draft spatial development framework. Now, this was also published on the 27th of April. So, yeah, then the notice just tells where people can get hold of the spatial development framework document at the municipal offices in Statarem. There's the address there. And then for those who can't make it to Statarem, then they can follow the link that is given in the notice to download the draft spatial development framework. And then also the the person that the comments or objections or inputs could be sent to is also, their email address is given, and the telephone number as well for further inquiries is given there. Now the public participation period, according to the notice, will be 30 days, as from the 27th of April 2026 to the 27th of May 2026. But upon following the link that was given in the notice, we then saw that actually it's difficult to get hold of the draft SDF document in the municipal website. So perhaps the municipality can clarify how do we get to access that bylaw. But then nevertheless, matters to look for in the bylaws that are related to environment in the SDF, would be just to check the conditions of the special planning categories. That is their appropriateness to protecting open spaces, water courses, interactions with trees, and all environmental related matters. And also to check whether the spatial planning categories mentioned in the SDF are aligned with your critical biodiversity area requirements. That would be just generally one of the things to look for. And also the appearance of environmental tools such as your integrated waste management plans, air quality management plans, invasive eradication plans, in the SDF implementation plan. So those would be some of the matters to look for in the SDF that would then determine whether environmental management is considered in a significant way within that document. Now we move to the 29th of April. So there was nothing published on the 28th of April. But then on the 29th of April, the Tshwane local metropolitan city of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality then published a public transport and non-motorized transport bylaw of 2026, which will then come into effect 30 days from the date of publication. So 30 days, you will count 30 days from the 29th of April. This bylaw applies to all public transport services and non-motorized transport within the city of Tshwane. What is environmentally considered? What is to note environmentally in this bylaw is actually them making it mandatory to consider or to conduct an environmental study or an assessment before establishing any form of a public transport facility. That is a very good addition or consideration to the overall environmental management efforts there, because usually these things are overlooked. And then as a minimum, this bylaw says as a minimum, when developing public transport facilities, walking and cycling facilities should be included. So any public transport facilities should have walking and cycling facilities associated with it. That is also a good, and also making sure that it encourages walking and physical and a physical lifestyle. Now the bylaw under chapter 8, there's a section there, there's a sub-regulation that talks to prohibiting the use, or saying no one may use a shopping trolley, barrow, cart, or similar vehicle to transport goods on a sidewalk, or on a public road in such a manner as to cause a danger to non-motorized transport users. I think this is a win for people for the cyclists, because then that means the roads must be open for the cyclists to safely cycle through. But there's the mention of stropping trolleys and barrows and carts. They may actually have a potential of criminalizing, not truly criminalizing, but of disadvantaging your waste pickers. I mean, we all know that waste pickers use trolleys and carts to transport their recyclables from where they've collected them to the nearby buyback centers. So then if you are saying they must, this may be interpreted as saying they must not use a sidewalk, or then what must happen when they use a sidewalk and a cyclist approaches? Will they be required to move out of the way until the cyclist passes, and then they get back into pushing their carts? I think this may be a pretty contentious issue, considering that they are not these carts and shopping trolleys are not allowed on the road. Now they are not being allowed on a sidewalk as well. Then what would the solution be? Would the solution be that they must no longer be used, or where must they move? But I'm sure the municipality, I mean the city of Tshwane is an organized municipality. I'm sure they've dealt with this issue before, and they will find it easier to handle this one even this time around. Those were just my concerns and my questions with regards to just that regulation and the potential that it may potential for conflict that it may cause. But definitely a win for the cyclists. To ensure that at least the sidewalks are cleared so that people can cycle. Now the bylaw repeals the Pretoria Municipality bus bylaw. I think from that heading you can see that the bylaw now was expanded its focus from just looking at bus bylaws to considering all public transport facilities, plus the non-motorized transport, which is the first one that comes to mind is your cyclings and the bicycles. As I have said before, that the bylaw will come into full effect 30 days after the date of publication. So somewhere around towards the end of May, the bylaw, or beginning of June, the bylaw will be in full effect, and it will need to be complied with. Now, environmentally, this will help, because then if public transport becomes effective and more people cycle, of course, and then that means less use of vehicles, which then also means less greenhouse gases and other air pollutants emitted into the ambient air. So which means that in a way it would be a climate change mitigation. It would contribute to climate change mitigation and also to the reduction of air pollutants within the city of Tswane and areas beyond. So yeah, it's a great initiative from the municipality, and congratulations to them. Then we move on to the publications, to the gazettes of the 30th of April 2026. On this day, the eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality published their controlled fuels policy. This is how the policy looks like. Now, the purpose of this policy is to address poor air quality within the city of eThekwini. Then in the problem statements, this policy just mentions that there's about 202 fuel burning appliances, FBAs, that are used within the municipality. And these FBAs use coal, biomass, heavy fuel oil, paraffin, and other forms of fuel to raise steam or electricity, and then this results in emissions that affect the ambient concentrations of within this the eThekwini municipality. And then the policy also aims to reduce ambient pollutants in the atmosphere. So that is the reason for developing this policy. Now, this policy, as you go through it, you will see that it will require these FBAs to monitor or to measure the emissions, the emissions from their operations. They release your carbon monoxide, oxygen, carbon dioxide. That must be monitored and then reported to the municipality on a quarterly or on an annual basis. And now this measuring equipment or instruments that are required, there's also a requirement to have them calibrated on a quarterly basis. And then there's another requirement for these fuel blending appliances to conduct boiler tune-ups every 2 years, of which then the frequency is increased if they exceed their benchmark limits for the gases that they emit. So this is just an attempt to clamp down on air pollution from these fuel burning appliances by the metro. On table 1 of the policy, then there's some proposed emission limits for the city of eThekwini, which then will be in full effect by 2030. So between now and 2030, they will be working towards ensuring that these FBAs their emissions are comply with these values or these limits. It is just important to note here that this policy seems to be trying to close that gap for those facilities that do not trigger the activities listed in the Equality Act and your small boiler regulations as well. So it targets those that fall beneath that 50 megawatt minimum threshold. And then also these proposed emission limits are more stringent than your Equality Act limits and the small boiler shop regulations limits, which is also a good thing, because these smaller operations, when considered cumulatively, may have significant impact on the environment or on the equality of a city or of a community. So I guess I am sure that once fully implemented, they will really contribute to the improvement of the equality within the eThekwini municipality there, which will then help improve the health of the people, of the residents of eThekwini, as well as continue guaranteeing that eThekwini is a major tourist destination in the country. So, and then under table 2, they show the implementation plan for the policy. So I think that the implementation plan has started last year in 2025 and will continue up until 2030, and it is currently under implementation. It is highly likely that the bylaws for equality within the municipalities will be amended, and a whole lot of other changes will be put into effect during the course of implementing this policy. it is just for us to just congratulate the eThekwini municipality on this initiative and wish them well. We hope that they will continue just updating us on the progress of implementing this policy, so that even other municipalities could then model their implementation in the quest for achieving good clean air quality in the country. So yeah, that is all from the gazette, from the environmental related gazettes for this week, for the week of the 27th to the 30th of April 2026. I will upload another video on the 11th of May, where we will be looking at the gazettes that were published on the 4th, from the 4th to the 8th of May 2026, all environment related issues. So I hope you guys will be tuned in. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Comment, let's talk, let us talk, let us see what do you think about these updates, and just post your comments there. Thank you, until next time. Bye.